Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Shri Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Shri Radhe, Jayo Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadramai, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadramai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol, Nitai Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Gaur Premanande Hari Haribol. Namo Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottr His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His founder Acharya BVD founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधाकुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री श्री नवद्वीप मायपुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। उपस्थित समेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious, Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnu Padare. Shrimad Bhakti Jaga Swami Devananda. Signature Das Suprita Prabhupada Gata Pranana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Canto 2. And we are starting a new chapter, chapter 7, titled Scheduled Incarnation with Specific Functions. And text number 1. Brahma Uvacha Yatro Deyata Shititalo Dharanya Vibrat Yatro Dayata Shititalo Dharanya Vibrat Krundim Tanum Sakala Yagna Mayim Anantaha Krundim Tanum Sakala Yagna Mayim Ananta Antar Maharnava Upagatam Adidaitam Antar Mahanava Upagatam Adidaitam Tam dam strayadrim iva vraja dhara dadara Tam dam strayadim iva vrajo dharo dadara Brahma uvacha yatro dayata shititalo dharanya vibrat Krodhim tanum sakala yagna mayim anantaha Antar maharnava upagatim adidaitam Tam dan strayadrim iva brajo dharo dadara Brahma uvacha Yatro deyata shititalo dharanaya vibrat Krodhim tanum sakala yagna mayim anantaha Antar maharnava upagatam adhidaitvam Tam dam strayadrim iva vrajo dharo dadara Brahma uvacha Yatro dayata shititalo dharanaya vibrat Krodhim tanum sakala yagna mayem ananta Antar maharnava upagatam adidaitam Tam dam strayedrim iva vrajo daro dadara Brahma uvacha Yatro dayata shititalo dharanaya vibrat Krodhim tanum sakala yagna mayan tananta Antar maharnava upagatam adhidaitvam Tam dam strayadrim iva vraja dharo dharara Word by word translation. Brahma Vacha, Lord Brahma said, Yatra, at that time when Udayataha attempted Shititala, the planet Earth, Udarayanaya, for the matter of lifting, Bibhrat, assumed, Krudim, pastimes, Thanum, from, Sakala, total, Yagna Maim, all-inclusive sacrifices, Ananta, the unlimited, Antar, within the universe, Maha Arnavai, the great Garbha ocean, Upagatam, having arrived at, Adi, the first, Daityam, Devan, Tam, him, Damstraya, by the tusk, Adrim, the flying mountains, Eva, like, Brajadharaha, the controller of the thunderbolts, Dadara, pierced. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime just to leave the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the um, universe called the Garbhodoka, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. So the Bhaktivedanta purport. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planets of the universe. Lord Brahma is the first demigod, and Hiranyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions, only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air. And as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down in the Garbhodoka ocean, which covers half the universe. The other half is the spherical dome within which the innumerable planetary systems exist. The floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitutions of the globes, and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Hiranyaksha, the great exploiter of the gold rush, and the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fall down into the Garbhodoka ocean. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from within the water of Garbhodoka. Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, sang as follows. Vasati dasana shikhare dharani tavalanga shishani kalanka kaleva nimagna keshavadhrita sukara rupa jaya jagadisha hare. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusks, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of fanciful men who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances like the above-mentioned occasion, and the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of many cheap incarnations may take note of the factful incarnation of God as the gigantic boar with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical functions of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur confirms this version. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Shrayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganar Gunatantam Tam Sajivam Swadvaitam Savadutam Paigana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakara Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taru Vesha Kripa Shindu Vayevacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are starting this section where Lord Brahma start explaining the different incarnation of the Lord. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that these different incarnation, they have been depicted in different ways, especially in India. Like if you go to different places, they actually have came up with different kind of ideas of this incarnation. And one of the most common ones are they're saying, okay, there are 10 incarnation, and they also consider that Krishna is also an incarnation, like within that 10 incarnation. So as we see, Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. But they said, okay, Krishna is there, but he is an incarnation. He's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are various versions. Even there was one version that it explained in South India, there is a temple on the mountain hill. You have to climb the stairs. As you're climbing, and they have there put they have made statues of this different incarnation. So started with Matsya, Kurma, Baraha, like how it appeared. But how they have presented it is actually the Lord has evolved. So from fish, it to the Kurma, tortoise, and then to the boar, and then to half man, half lion, and then to this and that. Their theory is completely convoluted. So they're saying it's a theory of evolution from their perspective, that actually how it happened. And that's why, when you see, when someone doesn't have this knowledge, it just becomes so, in a sense, in a funny way, that they actually put all these things. So it's kind of hilarious. So in this way, we see that Jayadav Goswami in Gita Govindam, which is actually a very wonderful book where Sri Radha Krishna's pastime has been explained in a very poetic way. Jayadav Goswami has explained there all these different incarnations. So we see Keshavadhrita, Sukara Rupa, Keshavadhrita, Matsya Rupa, Keshavadhrita, Narahari Rupa. So in different ways, it has been explained. And then the next point that to consider here is where that the evolution theory that they were trying to describe. There is also another thing that some people have doubts. They're thinking that why the Lord has to come in different kinds of animal bodies. He could have come in different kind of human forms. Why in animal? But as it says in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioned that depends on the circumstances. Depends on the circumstances, the Lord appears in that specific form. Specifically in this case, he appeared as a bow. We see in this material world, we see that the boar, or like the boar is actually, you don't see them in open places if they are in the jungle. But if you see the pigs, they are most of the time they stay as a very in a very dirty places, and we know the pig, they eats the wastages, right? Because of that, they get so much extra fat in their body. So you see that sometimes the pig, they get so fat, they basically don't have any neck. From their face, their body starts. But it's not the case because the fat is too much there. So in a mundane way, sometimes people say each other oh, you are getting as fat as a pig. When someone tells other. But it's the case that they eat all those wastage product. That's why they get all this extra fat in their body. But in this case, we see that when Lord appeared as a bow, his bodily lusters, he looks beautiful. You can't imagine a pig or a boar look like that. He appeared he has all these nice ornaments. His body is built in a very nice way. He has all the six packs. There is no sign of any fat in his body. And it's his bodily luster, is just resemblance of the shining moon. And it says when he actually pierced the earth with his tusk and took it out of the Garbhodoka ocean, it just felt like the moon is on his tusk. So we see that that's the point here to understand, that when Lord actually assumed a form, that form became so beautiful. Even though it's in a materialistic way, it's very heinous. We see about the fish, they are very smelly, or the pig, they remains in a very dirty place. But in terms of when the Lord take this incarnation, they are so beautiful. People just look at them. I don't think we have any picture of Baradev in our temple. But I remember there used to be a deity of Baradev somewhere. So here, when we see Lord Baradev, his chivalrous form actually gives us so much sense of protection, that Baradev is here, he will protect. And here also that how it says that why Baradev was appeared there, because Hiranyaksha, the Lord Hiranya, it means gold, and he was very much up behind gold. Here Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, next to his name, that the great exploiter of the gold rush, And specifically, if you think about Australia became more famous in the world because of gold rush. Because in the mid 1960s or 70s, at that point of time, not many people used to come to Australia. And they say, oh, it's a land of convicts, and because previously it was used as from UK, they used to send the convicts here because their jails were all full, and they were finding a land where the convicts will not be able to run away anywhere. And as you can see in Australia's map, is somewhere in middle there is a desert, and if they keep them on the shores, then there is nowhere to go because next to it is the ocean. So they found Australia is a very nice place to send to the convicts, and that's how it started. When the first set of people came. Oh, obviously before that the Aboriginal people was there. But then when the next generation started to come and they tried to settle here, the settlers that they called Australia, the next generation, and they were trying to grab more people here, and then suddenly they found out, oh, we can find gold here. And suddenly Australia got really famous in the world. Lots of people started to come from Asia, from Middle East, and they started to come because there was a gold rush. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that Hiranyaksha was the first of that, the great exploiter of the gold rush. So, but what did Hiranyaksha did? He started to dig deep into this material in the planet Earth. And how it's nicely explained in here that if you dig too much, then what happened? The balance actually gets shifted. And that's how they did, in the Middle East also, when they started to dig more and more, when they found the oil, right? And they found, oh, there's so much oil, and oil is very necessary. And they started to dig more and more and more. And then after some time, they started to feel like this earthquakes started to happen, tsunamis started to happen. So there are ways that, the balance were started to gone off. And it's very nicely explained in here in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when the balance is gone, then the planet that just falls into the Garbhodaka ocean. I don't know, maybe that will be the time of annihilation, right? When it just falls there. But here we see that for this planet, when it falls there, to protect the all the devotees of the Lord, Bharadev appeared, and he took out the planet with his tusk. He just pierced the tusk from the ocean, and he picked it up and put it back in the proper position. So that is such a wonderful, we see that this, we try to think that why Krishna, why he has to come as incarnation and do all these things, why he has to come himself. So then we have to go back and we see that actually the pastime started with Jaya Vijay, right? So when Jaya Vijay was guarding the door, and then the rishis came and they didn't let him go enter, and the curse happened. So they said, okay, you can go 7 times, as a devotee, or 3 times as a demon. They said, okay, we'll go 3 times as a demon, because the sooner we can come back to you, Lord. And then the next point, Lord very mercifully said, okay, to bring you, I will go by myself. So see, he could have sent anyone else, right? But he made this arrangement that, no, I will go by myself. And we see his different incarnations, like with Bharadev, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, right? And then Shishupal, Dantabhakra, and Ravan and Kumbhakarna. So all these ones. So here we see that, Krishna comes into this material world. One of the reasons is obviously Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinasha Chatushkritam Dharma Sangstharapanarthaya Sambhavani Yuge Yuge. That's one reason. But the other reason is also, so that is he's protecting his devotees and taking them out from the danger. But there is another factor also. That that there, we have read about 5 direct rasas that someone can have with the Lord. Santa, Dasa, Shakha, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, right? But there are 7 indirect, with that, there are 7 indirect rasas also. And the Lord, because Krishna is all about enjoyment. He wants to enjoy, right? And every time, wherever he wants to do something, there is a thing that, okay, the arrangement needs to be there for him enjoying the situation. He is the supreme enjoyer. So even with fighting with this demon, there should be something that he should enjoy that. And what is that? Is enjoying those 7 indirect rasas. So what are the 7 indirect rasas? They are anger, fear, shock, wonder, comedy, chivalry, and mercy. These are the 7 indirect rasas. And one of the reasons for Lord coming in this incarnation and fight with these demons, because he wants to enjoy these indirect rasas. We see that Lord Chaitanya, he came, the Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya. Why? Because he couldn't understand that what this feeling, what this feeling of love that the gopis and especially Srimati Radharani is having for me. I just can't understand. I just can't, what is this feeling? Then he said, okay, let me go as a devotee. And I want to experience that topmost rasa, madhurya. And I want to understand that. So in this scenarios with the demons, he came, and this is his chivalry with Barahadev. He was very chivalrous, he came like Nishingadev. But at the same time, he was feeling, he was fighting with the demons. But at the same time, those demons, they were also devotees. But for some reason, they came as a demon. So he was protecting them, relieving them, but at the same time, he was also enjoying, by experience, all those different rasas. So that's another factor that we have to think here. Because all this incarnation, ultimately, we see that there are different incarnations. But in this chapter, there's a famous verse at the end says, Ete chamsa kala pumsha krishnastu bhagavan sam. Although all this incarnation is there, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this incarnation, the Lord sent himself to, as an incarnation. But he also sitting there in Goloka. And he's also enjoying all these rasas with these demons. And then, what we see that after all the Jaya Vijay went through these three different, fights with the Lord. When they went back to the Lord, to there in Goloka, for one instance, they never complained to the Lord. They never ever complained to the Lord. No, because we were there, and we were going through all these, miseries. It was such a bad condition. Why we had to go through this? They didn't even complain once, because they knew that actually this was all for the Lord's enjoyment. And that's the sign of a true devotee. True devotee, they will go through all the miseries to give the pleasure to the Lord. We see time and again, examples of so elevated devotees. They will take all kind of miseries on themselves. And they just make sure that it shouldn't affect, the devotees, the other devotees. And if it doesn't affect the other devotees, then it will give pleasure to the Lord. So that's why this is very it's a very high high platform to reach to there, where basically this is a pure this is a stage of prema, pure love for the Lord, where you go through any kind of situation, no matter how hard that is. In Shikshashtakam, we read every day, no matter, if you, if you embrace me or keep me broken-hearted, I will always remain as your lotus feet. That is the mood of a devotee. And how that mood comes, that pure love, it's something, it obviously, it start, it's a gradual development. It doesn't happen in one day. It's not like one day you come to the temple, chant 16 rounds and say, oh, now I have pure love. It doesn't work like that. It happens through practice and association. So spiritual practice, with sincere practice, surrender, and then association with the devotees, taking association of the senior devotees. Without association, it's not possible to actually progress in that path. And we see, Srila Prabhupada so mercifully, he took so many, all this misery on himself. We have been, since our Gurudev passed away from this material world, we have been listening to various, sannyasis and senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And time and again they are explaining how Srila Prabhupada took so much sufferings on himself just to make sure that all these devotees, they are here so they can reach to Krishna. In the early days, nobody knew in Krishna consciousness, the day-to-day activities, they didn't knew how to do things, how to cook or how to dress, how to clean, very menial kind of activities. Nobody had any idea. Srila Prabhupada showed them from top to bottom, from everything, how it needs to be done. If he was in India, there would be so many devotees surrounded him. He never had to do anything. All would have been done in a nice way. But he took that, took that. He saw it as an opportunity that to serve the Lord. So the three things, here, I'll just finish soon. Three things that Srila Prabhupada actually went through. The love for Krishna, opportunity to serve the devotees, and obligation to his Guru. So the love for Krishna is obviously he is there, his love for the Lord. He took that, he just wanted to serve. That pure love is there for Krishna. So then the opportunity that he was saying, okay, how I can distribute that love? He had that love. So how I can distribute? So the opportunity came that to go to US. And why he took all this thing on him? Because the obligation towards his Guru. In the first instant, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed him that, should go and preach to the Western world. He met with his Guru 3 or 4 times. But Srila Prabhupada said that since the first time I met my Guru, after that I was never ever separated from him. Although by physical presence they were not in proximity, but by instruction, Srila Prabhupada was always at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that's how it happened. Love, opportunity, obligation. And that's how ISKCON came in. So, just the last thought on this. So, if we move on this same consciousness, then it will definitely help us collectively move forward and take this mission ahead of Srila Prabhupada. So on that note, I would like to end here. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nithai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.